89 years old. And I loved my wife for 70 years. 70 years. And I lost her long before she died. I need you to hear that again because your brain is going to try to skip past it. I did not lose my wife the day her heart stopped in that hospital bed. I lost her slowly, quietly, over thousands of evenings in this very room where I'm sitting right now, talking to you. The television is off. It's been off for months. I can't stand the noise anymore because the silence in this house has a sound of its own now, and I've decided I deserve to hear it. There's a clock on the wall behind me. It ticks so loud some nights I swear it's counting down what I've got left. And maybe it is. But I want you to look at what's in front of me. 2 armchairs. Mine, the one I'm sitting in, is worn down to nothing. The fabric is faded. There's a groove in the cushion shaped exactly like my body because I have sat in this same chair, in this same spot, damn near every evening for over 50 years. The armrests are smooth where my hands have rubbed the cloth away. And across from me, about 4 feet away, is her chair, Margaret's chair. There used to be a shape in that cushion too, the impression of her body. A small woman, barely 5'3", who sat there every single night with a blanket across her lap and a cup of chamomile tea that made this whole room smell like honey and flowers. There's a folded blanket still sitting on the arm of that chair. I put it there the day after the funeral. Nobody has touched it since. Nobody will. Her cup is in the kitchen cabinet, washed and turned upside down on the shelf. And some nights this room still smells like cold tea and dust and something fading that I can't get back. I loved that woman with everything I thought love required. And I am telling you tonight, from this chair, as an 89-year-old man with nothing left to sell you and no reason to lie, love alone cannot save a marriage, not even close. Let me tell you what I believed when I was young, because I was young once, believe it or not, and I was so damn sure I had the whole thing figured out. I married Margaret in 1954. I was 20 years old. She was 18. The war was over. The world felt like it was starting fresh, and I had one job as a man, one sacred duty that my father drilled into my skull before I could even shave. You provide. That's it. You work. You pay the bills. You put food on the table and a roof over their heads. And if you do that, you've done your part. You've earned the right to sit down at the end of the day and be left in peace. And Lord, did I provide. I worked double shifts at the plant 6 days a week. I built us a house with a yard. I paid off the mortgage 11 years early. I put 3 kids through school. There was never a bill on the kitchen table that went unpaid. Never a winter where the heat didn't work. Never a Christmas without something wrapped under the tree. I was proud of that. I wore that pride like a suit of armor, and I thought it made me untouchable. I thought it made me a good husband. Here's what a good husband looked like in my mind. I'd come home at 6:30. I'd hang my coat on the hook by the door. I'd kiss Margaret on the forehead, the same spot every single time, like I was punching a clock. I'd sit down in this chair. I'd open the newspaper, and she would talk. She'd tell me about the kids, about something the neighbor said, about a recipe she tried, about a dream she had the night before, about something she read in a magazine that made her think of her mother. And I would nod. I'd say, "That's nice, sweetheart." I'd say, "Mm-hmm." I'd turn the page. I'd hear her voice the way you hear rain on a window. Background noise. Pleasant enough, nothing that required me to look up. She'd finish talking eventually. She always did. And I never noticed that the gaps between her sentences got longer over the years. I never noticed that her voice got quieter, that her stories got shorter. that at some point she stopped telling me about her dreams entirely. I confused routine with intimacy. I confused silence with peace. I thought because she was sitting 4 feet away from me, we were together. I thought because I loved her, she could feel it. I thought she knew. But knowing someone loves you is not the same as feeling loved. And being in the same room as someone is not the same as being with them. I know that now. I know it the way you know a burn after you've already touched the fire. Now I need to tell you about one night, one specific night, because this is the night that ended everything, and I didn't even know it was happening while it happened. That's the part that will haunt me into the ground. It was a Tuesday, about 15 years ago, so I would have been 74. Margaret was 72. The kids were long grown. The house was paid off. There was nothing left to provide for, really, but I hadn't adjusted. I was still sitting in my chair every evening like I was recovering from a shift at the plant, even though I'd been retired for nearly a decade. The room looked the same as it always did. Yellow lamplight coming from the floor lamp between our 2 chairs. That warm, soft kind of light that makes everything look like a memory, even while it's still happening. The smell of chamomile, because Margaret always had her tea by 7 o'clock. I could hear the clock ticking. I could hear the faint scratch of her pencil because she was working on a crossword puzzle. The folded-up newspaper on her lap. I was reading. Some book I can't even remember. Something about history or war or some man's idea of what mattered. And it was quiet. Comfortable, I would have told you then. Peaceful. Then she spoke. Do you ever wonder what I think about? That was it. That was the whole question. 7 words. She said it softly, the way you say something when you've been rehearsing it inside your head for a long time, and you're not sure you should actually let it out. There was a tremble in it, not in her voice exactly, but underneath it, in the space around the words, like the question was standing at the edge of a cliff and asking permission to jump. I didn't look up. God forgive me, I didn't look up. I turned a page and I said, "You think about everything, sweetheart." And I smiled. I remember that. I smiled like I'd said something charming, something affectionate, like I'd given her a compliment. And I went back to reading. The room went quiet, not the usual quiet, a different kind, a quiet so heavy it had weight to it. The clock ticked. The lamp hummed its faint electrical hum. And something in that room changed forever. And I did not notice because I was reading a book I can't even name. She didn't answer me. She didn't laugh. She didn't sigh. She simply went back to her crossword puzzle. And from where I was sitting, everything seemed exactly the same as it always had. But it wasn't. I didn't see the tears. I've thought about that every single day since the funeral. Were there tears? I think there were. I think she cried quietly into that crossword puzzle. And I was 4 feet away, and I missed it because I never looked up. She asked me to see her. That's what that question was. It wasn't a riddle. It wasn't small talk. She was saying, in the only way she had left, I am sitting right here, and I am lonely, and I need you to wonder about me. I need you to be curious about me. I need you to ask me one real question, and then actually listen to the answer. And I gave her a punchline. After that night, nothing looked different. That's the cruel part. She still sat in her chair. She still made her tea. She still smiled when the grandchildren called. She still folded the blanket the same way. But something behind her eyes closed. I can see it now looking back. A door shut somewhere deep inside her, and she decided, probably without even putting it into words, that she would stop reaching across that 4 feet of space between our chairs, because it was clear Nobody was reaching back. She spent the last 15 years of her life sitting across from a man she loved in a room that smelled like chamomile, completely and entirely alone. And I was right there, right here, in this chair. Now it's just me. Every evening, same time, I lower myself into this chair out of habit. My bones ache. The house is clean because my daughter comes by and tidies up, but it's the kind of clean that has no life in it, like a museum, like a room that's been preserved but not lived in. I stare at her chair. I do this every night, and I cannot stop. The cushion is losing her shape. It's been 3 years now, and the impression her body left is fading, flattening out, becoming just a chair again. And that terrifies me more than dying, I'll tell you that, because it means the house is forgetting her too. The walls are forgetting her. The fabric is forgetting her. One day that cushion will be perfectly flat, and there will be no physical proof that she ever sat there at all, and it will just be a piece of furniture across from an old man who doesn't deserve the air he's still breathing. I sat in her chair once, about 6 months after she passed. I lowered myself into it, and I pressed my face against the headrest, and I could still smell her lotion, faintly, barely there, like catching the last word of a sentence someone whispered in another room. And I wept. I wept like I hadn't wept since I was a child, because that smell was the closest I'd come to holding her in years, and even that was leaving. My children visit on Sundays. They bring food, they sit on the couch. They never sit in her chair. Nobody does. Nobody ever will. It just sits there, 4 feet away from me, pristine and empty, reminding me every single evening of the distance I let grow between us while I was too comfortable to cross it. 2 chairs in a living room. That's all this is. 2 chairs facing each other, designed for conversation, designed for closeness, designed for 2 people to sit at the end of the day and say, "Tell me what you're thinking." And for 50 years I sat in one and she sat in the other, and we were 4 feet apart, and it might as well have been an ocean. The silence in this room hums. It has a frequency. It vibrates in the walls and the floor and in my chest, and it sounds exactly like all the things she stopped saying to me because I taught her that I wasn't listening. Now I'm talking to you. Yes, you, whoever you are, sitting there watching this on your phone or your computer, probably half distracted, probably with someone in the next room or lying right beside you in bed, someone who still talks to you, someone who still tries. You think you're different from me. You're not. You're doing the same thing I did. Maybe not with a newspaper. Maybe it's your phone. Maybe it's your laptop. Maybe it's the television or your work or your own exhaustion. But you are sitting in a room with someone you love and you are not there. Not really. You're nodding. You're saying, "That's nice." You're hearing their voice like rain on a window, and you think because you love them, that's enough. It is not enough. Love is not a thing you have. It is a thing you prove. Every single boring, ordinary, nothing special evening, it is putting the phone face down on the table. It is looking up. It is saying, "Tell me what you're thinking about." And then actually, God help you, listening to the answer. Not waiting for your turn to talk. Listening. Like what they're saying is the most important thing in the world, because one day it will be, and you won't be able to hear it anymore. Tonight, Not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight, when the person you love says something, anything, even something small, even something you think doesn't matter, I want you to stop what you're doing. Look at them. Look at their eyes. Ask them one real question. And when they answer, stay there. Stay in that moment. Don't reach for the remote. Don't glance at the screen. Just stay. Because I promise you, the silence that comes after they stop trying is louder than anything you've ever heard. It will fill your house. It will fill your chest, and you will sit in it every night for the rest of your life, staring at an empty chair, knowing the love of your life was lonely for years and years and years, and you were right there. Don't be 89 in a chair, talking to strangers because there's nobody left at home to hear you. Go be with them, now, while the cushion is still warm.